Hello and welcome to Raider HQ After Dark. I'm your host Raider. And in this video, I wanted to kind of round out my Terra review for the theory of Terra by talking about shipborne hazards and defense, SHAD, SHAD. And the reason why I wanted to kind of talk about it is typically a nautical Navy type Terra exposure. It doesn't have any presumptives or anything like that, but it is a different way that a certain demographic of veterans, Navy veterans, can potentially get their conditioned service connected under Terra. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll kind of talk about it. So let me just get the new software down here and do this, maybe increase the size a little bit. Okay, so first thing, let's introduce it because a lot of veterans do not understand what SHAD is, and it's not spoken about well in the manual itself for the most part. But basically, if you were a Navy veteran, and there are some exceptions to this, but if you were a Navy veteran from December of 1962 to May of 1974, and you participated in the SHAD project, then you could have been exposed to certain specific chemicals. Um, all these manual references will be provided in the video description, so you can reference those. Now, what's weird is that most of these links, if I go to them, they're going to like this one's fine because it kind of further elaborates on the project SHAD. But if you go to this one right here where it talks about the Terra activity, it must be researched and documented when explicitly claimed or implicitly applied. Now, I'm going to just share my personal informed opinion with you is that the only way for you to get SHAD raised to issue is by you explicitly claiming SHAD exposures with a disability associated with it. And the reason why is because the implicitly, it unless you have the job aid open for the SHAD, you're not going to know which ships at which time are part of SHAD. So the likelihood of somebody going, "Oh, I remember that. That's part of the SHAD project," is going to be very, very low. So I wouldn't count for the VA implicitly raising this unless it's on a higher level review or something like that, where they're more in tune to all the niche type ways that you can get claimed. But the VSR themselves are not going to actually implicitly raise SHAD on your behalf. Now, if we go down here, it says, "Hey, look, if these are raised within the following Terra procedures outlined in," and then we click on this, right? Well, guess what happens? You don't have access to this. There's no way for you to review it because it's an internal intranet document. So that's one of the disadvantages of the SHAD project is that, and actually many other aspects of the PACT Act and Terra, is that the actual process that the VA uses is locked behind the intranet to where you can't effectively claim these things because you don't fully understand the what rules the VA, the VSR and the Raider are applying at any given time. So it frustrates the heck out of me. I wish that a veteran would do a lawsuit to make sure that if the VA is practicing with an SOP, that that same SOP is forward facing to the veterans. If I had, Doug Collins' ear again, that would be something that should be a given, right? Because not even the VSOs can hand out this particular SOP or any other SOP. But because Terra is so new, the VA is only going for the most part on SOPs and then just sprinkling in the manual as they come across it. Because especially for Terra, they haven't really locked in their belief about how they're going to apply the law of Terra yet. So it's in constant flux. So let's move down here. So this is for the VSR, like this section of the manual. The 5 section is typically for the VSR. Consider a claim to be a SHAD claim if the veteran claims a disease or injury. Now, this is important. You have to do this because exposure itself is not a disability. Saying that you were exposed to something will not get you any further in the process as the result of Project SHAD. Now, notes here. Project SHAD was part of a larger effort. Okay, fair enough. Um, if the veteran asserts exposure testing outside of the SHAD, recognize SHAD testing dates or based upon Coast Guard service, follow the TERA procedures outlined in the non-SHAD TERA participation in, and let's wait for it. If I click on this, you can't gain access to this. So once again, your hands are tied behind your back. And I'm not trying to be negative towards the VA. I don't understand this. It makes no sense because how is the veteran, how is anybody, right? Your VSO, your accredited claims agent, your attorney even, how are they supposed to effectively fight for this theory if they can't, if none of them can gain access to the information needed to file the claim correctly? It boggles my mind. Anyway, and then this is what happens like if you were to claim SHAD on a specific ship, but you didn't do you didn't provide an actual disability. They'll call it an incomplete application and they'll send you a letter and then say, "Hey, look, tell us the disability, please." And that's about it for this set of manual references. Um, Now, one of the other things I wanted to point out here, this is about notification requirements. And depending on specific like Terra and or exposure requirements, there are requirements to send like additional tell us how you were exposed type scenarios. But unfortunately, when we get down here to the SHAD, section of this, there is no additional notice necessary. So the onus is on the veteran to provide all the information needed for you to successfully claim toxic exposure due to SHAD. Okay. So this is part of the reason why I'm making the video. I know it's kind of a niche topic, but if you're a veteran, you can't even go to a VSO and have them effectively do this claim. So it's why I'm pointing it out. So moving on to the next one, there's no, you know, let's see here. So this one is the rating section of it. No, actually, wait. Participation. Yeah, rating the claim. Okay. So when we're talking, they give a brief background here, okay, about SHAD just for the rater whenever they're looking through here. So they talk about the determination of whenever the claim for exposure to SHAD should not be limited just to SHAD itself. So, what they're telling the rater here is look, if the veteran claimed only SHAD, you should expand the TERA review to include all potential TERAs. So that way, before you deny it, you can all consider all of the exposures and not just piecemeal the veteran out and just kind of pigeonhole them into SHAD alone. Um, Now, this is the note here where it's buried in, 836B1B, but there are no presumptive conditions or disabilities recognized common to Project SHAD. So it's not a presumptive claim, it's a TERA claim, but it's a specific location kind of it's the cross between a location and a duty because it's a project. You had to participate in it and not everyone was. So, DoD used more than 140 chemical agents in testing with different durations, dosage, methods, and noted that in the Institute of Medicine study conducted in 1982 to 1985 found no long-term significant health issues in participants. I don't know why they put this in here because that's that's not like that study can't be generalized to the entire participant community. So they're not saying here that you can't get a condition service connected due to it. I don't know why they put that there. It's one of the times in which the VA kind of they poison the well for the rater to make them think that there should like, hey, look, yeah, there was extensive testing that said, look, nobody got a disability from this. It's like trying to prime the rater to want to deny the claim, and I don't understand what the purpose of this is. And I'm kind of ranting right now, but it's just one of those things where it poisons the mind of the rater to kind of point them to denying. And I don't like it. I wish that the manual was more objective at times. It is in a lot of times, but sometimes it's not. And then we come down here to the rating requirements. We have to follow certain guidelines. Uh, it talks about the fact that we can like SHAD is Terra participation. The rating must include the following, and then all the guidance outlined in, you guessed it, the document that you don't have access to. So, but it does talk about what we're supposed to say whenever this has to be in the rating decision when we deny you. So just keep that in mind. If you see this, then maybe they implicitly implied SHAD to you. But if you don't see it, then maybe they didn't. So it might be time for a higher level review, because you could point to this and say, hey, look, um, it says it must include this document or this statement, and it didn't. So did they consider me for SHAD? Question mark, And then this is just behind the scenes stuff on how to format your rating decision. Uh, what it should look like in the subject line and the issue management line of the rating decision. Not too intensive. Now, the part that I had showed you guys in the last video is this is a job aid about all of the SHADs that the VA recognizes. So I'm going to blow this up real quick. And um, this is particularly important to get the name of the test name and the fact sheet associated with it, because you can Google these. If you participated on the USS George Eastman from January to March of 1963, then you would look up, or have somebody look up for you, Eager Belay Phase 1 Test 631 63-1, and then that will give you a specific list of everything. Now, I'm going to just keep this on this for a second, so that way you guys can pause the video, and I'm just going to do that moving down, so that way, if you need to look at the video and you can like look this stuff up, you can just pause the video and then just transcribe it. If you're potentially a qualifying veteran in the time frame, or somebody that is a potential veteran in the time frame. So you got Magic Sword, Big Tom, High Low, Fearless Johnny. I mean, people that were naming these things had a lot of fun. Purple Sage, Scarlet Sage. Yeah, and I'm just gonna. I know, guys. I'm sorry. But I want to be fair to everybody and just make sure that they have access to this. So it's kind of a dead period of time. Now, I will say this is the last nautical based one. So down here it says many tests were conducted on large scale military bases too. So it wasn't specifically exclusive to the Navy. And this is what I was alluding to in the first part. So the Dugway Proving Grounds, only a small population of service members at these locations participated in the testing. But the fact of the matter is, you could have participated in this testing for SHAD. So these are the non-nautical locations. So I'm just going to kind of let you guys look at this for a second. And then we got Tall Timber down there. That's where I'm going to stop, is Tall Timber. And then we got Westside Phase, Sundown, Devil Hole, Elk Hunt. Okay, that's kind of weird. And then we got more. So Elk Hunt Phase 2, Pine Ridge, Devil Hole, yada yada. And this is not forward facing. So this is why I'm taking the time in the video to actually show you guys. I know it seems like a lot of dead time. We'll stop at Red Cloud, Watchdog, Rapid Tan, and then this is the final page. So we're down here to 7410, and that's it. Okay, so 5 out of 5. Fantastic. Okay, now I want to come up here to Purple Sage. Okay, so we'll say Purple Sage, the USS Herbert J. Thomas. Okay, so what I did was I looked up on Google. Okay, so Google, I put in Purple Sage Test 66-5. So Purple Test 66-5, basically verbatim. I went to the www.health.mil site, and this provided an extensive detailed list of this particular project. So you should be able to do this for every single project. and it would behoove you to familiarize yourself with it, because when you come down here, if you participated in Purple Sage, then they are talking about the agents and or stimulant tracers. So, oh gosh, okay, methylacetotate, yeah, that right there, methylacetotate, all the time. And then they talk about what it is, what it does, and more importantly, because very few of us are doctors, right? It tells kind of what the potential health hazards are for these specific conditions, right? So it's important to review these documents so that way you can kind of cross-reference the chemical agent with your symptoms and or disabilities, and take this document, you can print this out and take this to your doctor and say, hey, look, do you have any idea about, could this cause my condition? So anyway, this is about all I got for you guys today for SHAD. I hope you found it to be somewhat enlightening. Maybe not for you, but maybe for a veteran because if you know a veteran and they got denied for, let's say, a skin condition, right? Or a respiratory tract irritation, right? Maybe they got asthma over a long period of time and they've tried everything to get it service connected, but they just so happen to be on the USS Herbert J. Thompson in February, between January and February of 1966. This could be a new door that opens up to have them potentially do a new Terra claim, because I'm going to tell you right now, the VSRs and the Raiders do not front load SHAD onto your Terra review. They don't. You have to basically bring it up to them if you qualified. If you didn't, then this isn't for you. But if you did, then you'll want to do this, because you should not put faith in the VA, VSR, and Raider to catch things like this. Anything that's out of the mainstream, if they're good, then yeah, if they're good at their job, fair enough. But that's a dice roll right there. That is a statistic, and not 100% or anywhere close to it that they will find, catch, or process for SHAD. So I have the live stream today, so you guys can look forward to that. I'm hoping to be talking about, it's going to be kind of a Q&A type situation where I'm going to be kind of talking about exam, private DBQ sufficiency, maybe personal statements. It's going to be focused but not rigid. So I'd like to take the time right now to thank all of the members who have, signed up and graciously supported the channel. Like, each and every one of you are so helpful, like, to motivate me to keep wanting to do this, and potentially to do this as my full-time job. Not to, like, top 5 reasons, type thing, but I want to definitely put out information, and I want to hopefully, you know, dive headlong into fighting misinformation, because that's what grinds my gears more than anything else, is when somebody who has an axe to grind, or they have some kind of grift or motivation, financial motivation, to keep you in the dark and keep you dependent upon them, rather than to educate yourselves to be able to do this independently. It truly drives me insane. So that's my rant. But that's about all I have for you today. But I do look forward to speaking with all of you at the live stream today. And yeah, that's about it. So